Hello and welcome to week 5 for plant biology. We've spent last week looking specifically at stems and roots, and we're going to continue looking at specific plant structures today and just continue reading in chapter 30 of the Biology 2E OER textbook. So it's a continuation of the same chapter as last week. Additionally, please at least skim parts of chapter 32 where they talk about the structure of fruits, flowers, and seeds. We'll be talking more about those structures as we talk about reproduction, but it'll be good to get a good start on that information. So the bulk of what I'd like to focus on this week will be in chapter 30, the backside of chapter 30, where we're really starting to look at the structure of leaves. Leaves are pretty integral to plants, right? I mean, when you think about a plant, you probably think about their leaves. And the structure of those leaves is perhaps more complex than your preconceptions may lead you to think. The leaf is the site of photosynthesis for plants, so they harness energy in their green leafy structures from the sun and convert that energy into sugars using the process of photosynthesis, and that happens in leaves. The shape of the leaf is usually something that's evolutionarily determined, so cactus spines, for example, are leaves, but evolution has driven a change in the structure of that leaf from what we think of as sort of a traditional sort of leaf shape, which is roughly palm or hand shaped like that, into what we see in a cactus, which is a very aggressive, spine. That's not a photosynthetic component of the plant, but it is still a leaf, and it's just been modified through evolutionary processes to meet different needs of the plant. Leaves have a typical sort of structure to them, and how we use that leaf structure is really for identification purposes. So the arrangement of the leaves, so whether the leaves are alternate or opposite on a stem, so do the leaves come off the same node at the same side, or are they staggered? So this would be alternate, and this would be opposite. Also, the form of the leaf, if they're simple, so if it's a simple palm, sort of like a simple palm sort of shape, is it simple? Does it have many of these palms together? That would be a compound leaf. So we use those characteristics of leaves primarily for identification purposes, understanding that as far as the plant's concerned, as long as it's green, it's providing photosynthetic needs of a plant. Leaves that have been modified evolutionarily can sometimes have very specific structures, again, as in a cactus spine or, say, a Venus flytrap, which is going to close on an insect. But those are definitely the exception. For the vast majority of plants, leaves are the primary site for photosynthesis. The basic structure for a leaf is really, we're going to start on the outside. Those outer layers of the leaf are called the epidermis, and those layers are really critical, and their main role is regulating gas exchange through what are called stomata on the leaves. These are little holes in the leaf, and they have two cells surrounding these holes that are often described as sausage shaped, and they're called guard cells, and they'll open and close and regulate water and gas exchange through the leaf. The middle section of the leaf is called the mesophyll. That's where there's often air spaces to allow gas exchange to occur, and also it's the site of the chloroplast for photosynthesis. So much of the photosynthesis in plants occurs in the middle section of the leaf. To move water to the leaves and photosynthetic products away from the leaves into the rest of the plants, plants also have what are called vascular bundles inside the leaves that are made up of xylem and phloem. We've seen xylem and phloem structures last week when we were looking at stems and roots, and so these same vascular components are continuous with these other structures and found in throughout the plant, so that they can move water efficiently from place to place and also so that they can move sugars from place to place so that they can carry on their life functions. Again, I think I mentioned some of these leaves are adapted for different purposes. Cactus spines are a leaf. Fundamentally different than the leaf from an oak tree, right? Pine needles are leaves, but they look very different again than what we think of as a stereotypical leaf. But they still are these leaves that are photosynthetic and provide this function for the plant. In the case of pine needles, they're adapted to often a drier and cooler climate, so they really are reducing their surface area to prevent water loss and damage from the cold. Some leaves float. If you think of water lilies and things like that, often they're very broad and will sit on top of the water. Some have actual flotation structures in them. And again, predatory plants like the Venus flytrap or the pitcher plant are very uniquely evolved structured leaf structures, so to allow plants to gather nutrients that are lacking in their environments from biological material in the form of insects or animals, which is fascinating adaptations to an otherwise inhospitable world. So again, we're finishing up talking about leaves today. Also, please make sure to look at flowers and fruits and seeds and really start to understand the difference and the similarities that many of these different types of plants have with the physical structures that they are using. Please continue utilizing the discussion board. I'm slowly catching up to the grading, and if you have any questions, please post and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you.